Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Crash Course United Methodist Polity. I'm Sean McLeod, your host. Recent news events, you may have heard something about a trial in the state of Pennsylvania. And you may have questions. Well, hopefully we have answers, or at least some of them, and without all the politics. So today we'll be looking specifically at the part of the Book of Discipline that references trials and investigations in paragraph 2706. I say ish because, well, honestly, there's also something about it in paragraphs 363 and 2703. But we'll cover that today, so stay tuned, for you are about to be informed. Now, the United Methodist Book of Discipline has specific rules and provisions for both investigations and trials. However, with any investigation and trial, you normally have to have a set of rules that are broken. And in the Book of Discipline, these are listed in what are known as the chargeable offenses. The Book of Discipline currently lists several chargeable offenses for bishops, clergy members, local pastors, deacons, which include, but are not limited to, sexual immorality or misconduct, child abuse, criminal offenses such as embezzlement, stealing money, anything that would be a crime in the state that you live in, being a Michigan fan. I'm sorry, what? Oh, I've just been informed that apparently being a Michigan fan is not a chargeable offense, although considering where I go to seminary, I'm going to have a hard time believing that, but we'll go on. The chargeable offense list also includes such actions as disobedience to the order and discipline of the United Methodist Church, dissemination of doctrines that are contrary to the established standards of doctrine of the United Methodist Church. It also lists as a chargeable offense behaviors or relationships that undermine the ministry of a pastor, or any behaviors that exhibit specific racial or gender bias or discrimination. Also of interest is that these rules, many of these rules do not apply simply just to members of the bishops or episcopacy or clergy, but also to local professing members of churches. Many of the lists are very similar, the notable difference being that for a professing or local member, the major difference is that they can be charged with behavior that undermines somebody in ministry. Again, very similar to the rule about pastors having relationships or behaviors that are of a detriment to their ministry, of themselves or another pastor or to the ministry of a church. It is also very important to note within these sets of rules that there is a statute of limitations of 6 years, except in cases of child or sexual abuse. So, for example, if a pastor is accused of sex abuse 20 years ago, this is something you've seen a lot, not so much in the United Methodist Church, but in the Roman Catholic Church of late, that there would be no statute of limitation on that. There could be a church trial, and that minister could potentially be removed from their ministry as a result of that behavior, even if we are outside of that 6-year time window. It is also very important to note here that just like with any rule, the rule has to be in effect at the time the offense was committed. So, for example, if 20 years ago it was a chargeable offense to be a Michigan fan, but it is not now, of course I'm making this up, and somebody is a Michigan fan back then, but they are now, you can't retroactively try to try them. The chargeable offense had to be in the Book of Discipline at the time the offense was to alleged to have committed. So no batsies on, trying people. You have to do it fair and square. So, investigations. Yes, you've seen them on crime dramas. Well, this is a little bit different, especially since in the United Methodist Church, investigations happen a little bit differently depending on who is involved. One of the most typical types of investigations that you're going to see in the United Methodist Church is an investigation of an elder, or as colloquially be termed, a clergy member. In that instance, the elder He is not investigated by a special committee, but is in fact investigated by a counsel or lawyer appointed for the church by either the bishop or possibly even the Board of Ordained Ministry to investigate an elder for specific complaint that's been leveled against them. I myself, being someone who is somewhat new to the United Methodist Church, found this a little strange as I was researching for this assignment. But what I'm learning is part of the reason for that is that a sitting elder is already under the credentialing and the oversight, if you will, of both the Global Board of Ministry as well as the Board of Ordained Ministry of their local conference. So in some respects, this actually does make a fair bit of sense. And since 9 times out of 10, most of your investigations involve clergy and involve some sort of inter-church complaint, sometimes the fewer the better people to investigate something. Something I know from my family's background. My father was a police officer, so I know a little bit about what goes on in judicial types of investigations. However, there are 3 other categories the Book of Discipline gives us, which talk about when the respondent, or what might colloquially be termed as the defendant, they call it respondent, which makes a fair bit of sense, and I personally think the term's a lot nicer, is that when respondent is a bishop, the investigation is done a little bit differently. A committee of 7 people is appointed by the jurisdictional council or judicial council. That's 7 clergy from other conferences, as well as 2 lay observers with 6 alternates, 5 clergy and 1 laity. The purpose of this, obviously having the lay observers, is that there is some transparency in this process, which I totally think